G'day, I'm David G, Sheshnag.com. What on earth is Kundalini? Sheshnag Yoga Center. This video is about a few terms that are getting thrown around in the period of the transformation of human psyche. Let's talk about some of them. They're my favourite concepts. One is Kundalini. Gets thrown around chronically. Some people. I don't know. Could be totally subjective, because when they talk about this energy doing this and energy doing that and feeling the energy here, I can't really relate to that because I don't have that experience where the energy moves here and moves there inside me. Not that I want to invalidate their experience, but from a Kundalini experience, I personally had a couple of mystical experiences and then spontaneous Norley at the same time as I realised God. That was it. Over and done with. But on the path to a full awakening of the Kundalini and God realisation or self-realisation, and where the Jivatma merges with Paramatma to become a Jivan Mukti. Big words. They can be thrown around too. Kundalini seems to be taken out of context. Seems to polish some people's identity. Seems to enhance it. Who knows? I find it's taken out of context, but there's a video on Keep Kundalini in Context. There's a couple of other words that are taken out of context. Conscious, being conscious. What is conscious? There's a video on the word conscious that I've already done. I've also thrown in there something to do with being awake. What's the concept of being awake? Does it mean everyday life, or does it mean like being awake to the reality of unified existence and being a conscious participant in it? Who knows? The term God. I've done a video on the definition of God. Everyone. I talked to my brother who's a born-again Christian. God bless his soul. He can work his own soul out. I don't even know if God blesses it, because God's overused. Byron Katie talks about minding God's business, minding other people's business. You best be minding your own business. So then humans have a tendency to throw all their neuroses upon the great being. Is the great being actually capable of jealousy? Is it capable of wrath? Is it going to kick your butt? I don't believe so. If we're talking the great being, then maybe the great being is simply being great. So, if it is being, like the space in the bathtub, there's a video on that too, defining God relative to the space in the bathtub. If it is pure being and non-judgmental and nothing to do with wrath or some of those human traits that are thrown upon it, what's going on with throwing it out of context? Thinking that your God's better than other people's gods. God's such a subjective experience that why does it get thrown around so lightly? I'm a male, I like to work things out. The other thing that I found out is the word love. Love gets thrown around, gets manipulated culturally, gets misinterpreted as lust. What is love? Is it the experience of God in the sense of pure being? Or is it this cultural interpretation where you can manipulate people? You think it lasts forever. I think it's more like a dog myself. You know, like the mother dog growls at the pups. Sometimes it growls, sometimes it licks them, licks their wounds. You know, what is love? Is it pure being where you allow people space, or is it conditional, culturally imposed, to do with grabbing onto someone, manipulating them emotionally, or finding a place of belonging through another person? I don't know if that's love. That's maybe codependency, but love can be providing the space for those people to be themselves without clinging on to them, without having the need to bind yourself in a way that is detrimental to the psyche and the identity of the other person. but allow them to be free emotionally. Of course you need conditions in the physical environment, but why throw love around? I found that it's a lot to do with lust in this culture. Do we want to go into that subject right now? I don't know. Lust. What's lust? Lust is the biochemical influence that you get when you first get close to someone and maybe have sex with them. And then there's a biochemical urge that is sustained for a 12-month period due to the need to be around the person for the 9 months of pregnancy on an animalistic level. What is love? And how come we throw it around so much? I've done another video on Tantra. Gets thrown around chronically too. Is Tantra the science of yoga and Ayurveda to do with the energies of matter and consciousness and the interplay of that called Lila? Or is it something to do with sensuality that's turned into a physical experience of pleasure to do with the kleshas? I don't think it's that, the latter. Who knows? I'm throwing around some words to think about and try and define because I'm a male. I like to work things out. I like to be specific. If I'm talking about a key, I want to know what the key is. If I'm talking about the system, I want to know how the system works. It's all well and good to just, from a physiological female perspective, to just want to feel and be. That's cool. From a male perspective, I'm scientifically minded, very literal and rational. I like to know what I'm talking about. If I'm talking about something specifically, I want it to be the same as everyone else, in the sense that if I'm talking about wood, I know that it's wood because we're talking about the same object. When we're talking about things such as these subjects, Kundalini, God, love, lust, there's a big difference to be specific and understand exactly what we're talking about. Who knows? I've just been finding that they get reinterpreted or misinterpreted or projected in a way that suits someone at the time. I find most of them pretty neutral. I find the human gets involved in God's business and then throws their interpretation onto these subjects, which isn't totally accurate at times, but who am I to say? Who knows what's going on? I'm just talking about some words that are a bit confusing for me at the moment. Om Namah Shivaya, Har Har Mahadev, Sheshnag.com, Om Devaji. Peace. Share the world.